Hello everybody, and welcome back to It's Too Late to Apologize Book Reviews. I'm Stella, and today we are celebrating 1,000 subscribers. I honestly, I can't believe 1,000 subscribers. I'm sort of speechless. I honestly never thought starting this channel back up again would get me here. And because I don't know what I was expecting, because for those of you who do know, I started this channel originally back in 2014. So if you count from then, I mean, since I've had videos up on here, it's been over 8 years. And obviously it's only been within the last, it's going to be 2 years come January, about 2 years since I've started posting videos again. And I'm just shocked that the channel's been so well received, and I'm really grateful for that. And it's wonderful having people to talk to and share my passion of books with. So thank you so much for being here. A celebration giveaway, anybody who is interested in my novel Across the Wire, I will send a free e-copy. I will send it to you to your email, should you so wish. If you tell me down below you would like a free copy of my book, I will send it to you, because I feel like that's the only way that I can truly show how much I appreciate all of you being here. So I ran a poll to see what you guys might like to see as a 1,000 sub video. I'll just pop the results up on screen here. So the options were a Q&A video, a review of Portrait of the Artist, a bookshelf tour, or none of these, and leave me a suggestion. And it seems like there is a tie between a Q&A video and a bookshelf tour. Now, I'm going to do a bookshelf tour. I will, I swear. But I'm going to choose to do a Q&A video first, that's what this is. All right, so a few people were kind enough to leave me a few questions to answer. First few questions comes from Paramita Mukherjee. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that. She says her first question is, do you have a distinction between all-time favorite books and all-time favorite authors? All-time favorite authors is a difficult thing to me, because there are very few authors where I have read all of their works. And I feel like you have to read at least the majority of an author's works to say that they are your favorite author, or at least half of their works. I mean, depending on how many they have, obviously, if there's some authors are more prolific than others. Some of my all-time favorite books, some I've mentioned. One of them would be 1984 by George Orwell. That's one of my favorite novels. I've only ever read Animal Farm from him also. And I do have a collection of his essays that I haven't quite gotten into just yet. So I really enjoyed both of those, but I don't know that I would say that he's my favorite author. I don't think I've read enough of his works. Same thing with Kurt Vonnegut. I loved Slaughterhouse-Five. Slaughterhouse-Five is one of my favorite novels. I also read Cat's Cradle. I didn't enjoy it as much as I did Slaughterhouse-Five. I do have a few more of Kurt Vonnegut's works that I do want to read, and I want to read more of his to just see if I resonate just with all of his works. So I don't know that I would say that he's my favorite writer either. I love Donna Tartt. I have read all of her works, and she's only, I want to say only, but she's put out 3 novels so far, and I do love everything that she has written, some more than others. I don't know that I would call her my favorite author, though, because, you know, she's perhaps not quite written enough to hold the title. I'm currently in the process of reading Gillian Flynn's Gone Girl, and I'm just absolutely loving it. And I love, she's also written 3 novels. I think there was also like a novella in there. I haven't read the novella, but I've read, so this will be the last of her novels that I need to read. I don't know what I need to do, what any of us needs to do to make Gillian Flynn write another novel. I don't know. Hopefully she's working on one, because I need more of whatever that woman is cooking. I'm loving Gone Girl, and Sharp Objects is one of my favorite novels of all time. I have read all of Jane Austen's works, but I wouldn't necessarily call her my favorite author. I've read a lot of Shakespeare in my Shakespeare project, and I mean, maybe if there was any author that I could say that I could claim as my favorite author would be him, but he writes plays. I don't know if that necessarily counts. This is really hard to say. I don't know if I have an answer for this. I've read 3 of Cormac McCarthy's novels. 2 of them I absolutely loved. I would say he's probably one of my favorite authors, and I'm currently working through reading all of his novels before his 2 novels drop later this year. And so I'm really excited about that. And, the first 2 novels that I would have read from him would have been Blood Meridian and The Road. And I loved both of those. And I would have said, oh, this is looking like Cormac McCarthy is going to be my favorite author. And then I just finished reading The Orchard Keeper. And while I found it really interesting, it was definitely a different style than I would necessarily gravitate to. So I'm really interested to read more to see where and how his style evolved. So I'm not sure who my favorite author is yet. And then the next question you asked was, what is the order of priority for you when you read a book among quality of writing, character work, plot, themes, and world building? I would say my order of priority would be character work. That's my number one favorite thing in a book. It's so good. Like, my favorite thing is characters. If the characters are written well, multidimensional, and interesting, I could just sit there and almost nothing could happen and I would gobble it up. That's not everybody's cup of tea, but it's definitely mine. And then I would say quality of writing's pretty important for me. For me to love a book, like for it to be my favorite, the writing has to be, I wouldn't say necessarily quality is hard to quantify, right? And that's going to be different for everybody, right? So, do we mean quality as in the most perfect grammatical display of technical form? To me, that's not what it means. It's much more artistic to me than that. And other people might feel differently, and that's completely fine. But for me, it's the style of writing. I would say more so to the quality of writing. It's the style and how the author bends language to their will. And some of my favorites would be John Green. One of my favorite novels of his would be The End of the Affair, just purely based on character work and the way he wrote that book. So amazing. And I haven't read any other Graham Greene. I haven't read any of his other works, and I really, really need to. And if anybody has a suggestion or a recommendation, leave it in the comments down below. The first thing would be character work, quality of writing, and then maybe the plot and the world building. Like, obviously world building, if we're talking about historical fiction, fantasy and science fiction, when we're getting into genre fiction. I mean, world building is important in almost any book. Obviously, if it's a contemporary novel that's written in current times, then less is necessary for world building. We all can place ourselves there really easily. So I mean, it's important, but it kind of depends also, I guess. And plot, I think, is important to a certain degree. But if you have really strong characters, it's less important necessarily to me. Although it's still important that there's a journey being made to a certain degree also. Like, if even if the characters are written good, if written really well, if I begin the novel and end it in the exact same place, that's a pretty frustrating experience, I think. I mean, could someone pull that off and execute it well? I'm sure someone could. Just prove me wrong. I like to be proved wrong. Another part of that question is, does this order vary from genre to genre? So I got a little bit into that. And then, are there specific themes in books which tend to resonate with you more? Example, female-centric narrative in a patriarchal society, anti-war commentary shown through the impact on civilians, etc. Thank you and best wishes once again. Thank you. It depends on the mood that I'm in. Like, I'm definitely a mood reader. So depending on what I'm in the mood for, I'll seek those things out. I guess things that do resonate with me more, and you'll see that in regards to the question already asked, is the character is really important to me. And the journey with that character and how in their minds and how I can understand how they tick is extremely important to me. And I really enjoy that. to experience this story vicariously through the characters that are in there. And it doesn't have to be likable characters. They could be completely unlikable characters, so long as we see why they are the way that they are. We see why the person is who they are, So that is really important to me when I'm reading. I do actually really enjoy war novels based on wars. Slaughterhouse-Five, which is one of my favorite novels, it was considered an anti-war novel. So, I mean, if a novel is executed well, it will definitely resonate with me. But as to whether I go for female-centered narratives, I don't exclusively look for those things. I look for a good story. I want humanity raw and scraped bare, served on a platter is what I want. So it doesn't really matter what gender. I want a good story, and I want it to feel real. And I want it to kick me in the feels, And then some questions from None of Yo Business. Congratulations. I wonder if you could talk about your perspective of reviews and analysis of books. You do a bit of both, but you do it in a way that is interesting. You don't tell the reader that they should read anything. Why don't you? Why don't you bash books? Oh, that's quite a question. I have this struggle, and it's just for me. Like I have this struggle with this. I'm not saying that there is a struggle, generally speaking, but I sort of have this struggle with traditional literary criticism. And I really value literary criticism, so don't get me wrong. But I wonder, oftentimes I wonder about whether it's the place for someone else to tell someone what they should or shouldn't read. I don't know if it's anybody's place to say that or recommend that. Because, unless I'm talking to a good friend who I know their tastes, I'm really just guessing. If I were to go down that road, and I might be telling someone to not read something that could change their perspective or their lives. I mean, we've all read books that we could say like, wow, yeah, this book really changed my life. And that sounds very melodramatic, but we've all read something that's completely changed our perspective and sometimes on something quite profound or quite important to us. And so that is life-changing. What I aim to do is when I read a book and I want to talk about it, because I don't always talk about every single book that I read on this channel, because not all books will trigger what I feel is something interesting to share, So what I would rather do is I would rather take a book, and oftentimes I don't like the book. There's quite a few videos that I have up of books that I actually didn't quite enjoy, but I could see the merit in them, and I could see what someone else could get out of it, and I could see really interesting themes. I could see what the author was trying to do. And of course, I'm interpreting it through my own bias, and I try to be as objective as possible, but we're all subjective creatures. And so what I would rather do is try to tell you what I thought was intriguing about the book, what I thought it was trying to say, what I thought it did well, and then leave it to the reader or to the viewer to make the choice of whether or not it's worth their time and their money to invest in that book. Because I can't tell you whether it is for you or not. Everybody's going to be different. And so I hope that by doing a thorough enough analysis and breakdown of the book, that you can then come to that decision on your own. Or at least that's what I'm trying to do. I don't sit and bash books on this channel, not because I don't think that there's, criticism that a book could receive, but that I don't think it helps necessarily. Because the criticisms, I think, say more about the person who's doling the criticism than it does about the work necessarily sometimes. That's subjective. Some people would say that there's objective ways to criticize things, but what you might be criticizing may not matter to someone else. Some people criticize books written in dialect. I don't care about that usually. A lot of people criticize Cormac McCarthy's style in that he uses very little punctuation. I don't know if it's because of my dyslexia or whatever. Like I don't even see it. It doesn't even factor. And so a lot of people, like, these are a non-starter for them. but it doesn't even bother me. And of course, that's a loose example, but there are lots of other ways that, one can criticize something. And I've read a lot of literary critiques on works that I've read, and they felt so far from the mark from what I read reading a book that I completely disagreed. And which isn't to say that that person was wrong. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But I think it can lead people astray who haven't read the book at all. So that's why I don't really get into bashing books, because I don't know that it's actually helpful. Anyways, those are my thoughts. And then we had the Falcon. He's written, congratulations on approaching 1K. Definitely deserve it. Top tier content. Thank you so much. If you haven't done anything of the sort already, I would really be interested. I would be interested to hear you talk about your favorite books ever or something. Always like to hear which ones are people's favorites. Okay, so this wasn't necessarily a question. This was what you had voted for on the poll. So I will do this video. It will be coming. Well, why we had a few people vote for questions, there wasn't too many questions. So I tracked down the Booktube birthday tag, and it was started by Average Joe Reads. So I'll link the original video in the description box below. There's about 8 different questions, because maybe you might find them interesting. So question number 1, how many years on Booktube are you celebrating? So I think I already mentioned 2 years since I rebooted it, and 8 years since I originally started it. Question number 2, what has kept you motivated to continue making videos? What's really kept me motivated is how much enjoyment I actually get out of analyzing these books that I'm reading. Because I'll sit down and I'll read a book and I'll feel like I understand my feelings about that book. And then when I go and write the analysis and the review, but I become even more engrossed in the novel that I had finished reading, because I really start to dig into the meat of the work and try and start understanding it at a much better, deeper level than I had when I just did a first read through of it. And so I'm really enjoying that. And it seems that people are enjoying it, which is also really helpful, because these videos do take a lot of time and work, and I do script them and I read them to the camera. And I do that because it does minimize how much editing and time it takes to film. And I don't want to waste anybody's time either. So that's another reason why I do that, is that I script so that I film, that I'm not rambling aimlessly, wasting the viewer's time. Question number 3, what are 3 of your favorite videos that you've made in the past year and why? My favorite videos right now would have to be The Goldfinch and Did It Deserve the Pulitzer? I actually really liked how the whole argument that I had written for that book came out. I would also say another video that I really liked, my Why Moby Dick is the Goat video. That was definitely one of the books where I enjoyed it. It was good, but only when I started analyzing it and diving deeper into it, because it's so dense on a first read. And so I was rereading passages over and over again, so that when I went back in and started analyzing it, I absolutely fell in love with Moby Dick. And I think the video turned out really good. So I'm really proud of that video. And then for the third video, I think I'm going to give it to Lord of the Flies and Is Humanity Doomed? I worked really hard on that write-up, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know if anybody else did, but I was really proud of that one. Question number 4. What have you struggled with on Booktube in the past year, and how did you overcome that struggle? I would say the struggle that I've had this year is that, especially compared to last year, was that my reviews are becoming longer. And it seems to be because I keep going deeper and deeper and deeper into both the literature, and I'm also trying to create these videos where even if you haven't read the book, there's still something interesting to listen to about the themes of that novel, or what argument I might have had with myself about what the book was trying to say. And so I find that the struggle has been to first, I always want to try to keep the videos under 30 minutes. That's what I want to try to do. Because I don't know if anybody would want to listen to me ramble for longer than 30 minutes. I highly doubt. And then the other struggle is that I had a few back-to-back books that I read where I just didn't feel like they were sparking any deep thoughts that I wanted to have. I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know if it was my expectations were too high when I did read the book, and then so when I actually did read it, I was sort of disappointed, and then I'm not sure. So two books that did this to me would have been Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, which is why I put it in the poll, because that was definitely a struggle bus read for me. And I didn't resonate with it, but I can see why it does resonate with others. So I think I'm going to force myself to analyze it because I feel like it'll make me grasp it a lot better. And another one was Middlemarch. I didn't necessarily struggle with reading Middlemarch, although it was so long. That is such a long novel. I'm not exactly sure why I didn't connect with that novel either. And I feel like I need to force myself to do an analysis of that book as well, because I don't think I'm giving it credit. I'm not giving it enough credit. Anyways, so I would say those have been really my struggles. And how did I overcome that struggle? I guess just push through it. Refuse to be ambivalent toward those novels. Utter refusal. Question number 5. Choose one moment from the past year on Booktube that you would like to relive. Oh, I don't know. Probably reliving the response to my Moby Dick video. There was some really good responses to that. And I feel like when I first put that up, trying to analyze Moby Dick, it's a classic and it's often cited as most people's favorite novel of all times. It's been analyzed so many times by so many different people, way more intelligent than I am and way better educated than I am. And I thought to myself, what could I possibly add to this discussion? And so I really had very low expectations of how that video was going to be received or how well, if at all, it was going to do. And it got really, really kind responses and comments. And so it was something that I wasn't expecting at all. So I think if there was anything I could relive, it would have been that. Question number 6, shout out a huge supporter of your channel. I think without a doubt, the biggest supporter of my channel has to be Michael K. Vaughan. He has been such a great supporter, and the growth on my channel would not be where it was without Michael being so kind and generous on his channel and shouting out my channel on his channel. And for those of you who have come to my channel from Michael's videos, thank you for coming. I really appreciate Michael. I really enjoy watching his videos, and he's been so incredibly kind, and he actually just started reading my book, which I am incredibly flattered about. He bought my book without even really telling me about it, and then just suddenly showed it on one of his videos, really quite surprised by it. So it was really kind of him to go out of his way, and which he tends to do for lots of smaller channels, which is wonderful of him. So thank you so much, Michael. Question number 7, what's the best book you've read this past year? Okay, let me see. Go into my Goodreads because I want to go through everything that I have read because I feel like I'm going to forget something. If I had to pick for nonfiction, it would be the 4 Archetypes by Jung. For the fiction win, it would have to be, I think, Madame Bovary. I've read a lot of poetry so far this year, and if I would have to pick between which was my favorite across all the poetry I've read, it would be a toss-up between Raymond Carver's A New Path to the Waterfall or collection of Robert Frost's poems. I think probably I would give it to Frost. And then, if we're talking about plays, I would probably say the best of, and I've only been reading Shakespeare this year when it comes to plays. Henry V was really good, but I also, for some reason, really loved Henry VI, Part 1. I don't know why. Lots of people don't really say much about that play. So I feel like Henry V is the common one everyone loves, but there's something about Henry VI, Part 1 that I just loved. Question number 8, where do you see your channel in a year's time and what do you hope to have achieved? Oh, I don't know. I hope I keep writing and putting out more content that people enjoy watching. That's really all I can say. And what do I hope to have achieved in one more year's time? I really hope that, or finish editing my Booktube. So first book that I talked about before, that in the beginning of this video, was Across the Wire. That's the first novel. The continuation and the sequel to this novel is Molding the Marksman. And I really need to get moving on edits. It's completed. The writing is completed. I'm working through revisions. I need to do a little bit more writing in a couple of the chapters. There's some tweaking that needs to happen. And in all honesty, I've sort of stalled working on this. And there is a question that someone had asked me in one of my videos, very kindly asked, what was the status on book 2? And I would say that writing is a very solitary pastime. And especially being an independent author, I have a really hard time even talking about my work to people, and I don't really talk about it on this channel. There are a few chapter readings that I did do for my first novel that is on my channel. You can check those out if you like. I struggle to talk about my work. So the problem with that is that no one knows about it. It can really be disheartening because unless you're willing to throw thousands upon thousands of dollars on marketing for a book, literally no one's going to hear about it. You spend a lot of time, and even you're passionate about it, but you spend a lot of time working on a novel and you don't hear a lot of feedback for it. And that's understandable. That's completely understandable. I'm not complaining or anything like that. But what you want as a writer is to share yourself and to share what you've written with other people. And so what I found with creating this channel and starting it up once more is that writing these analyses and these reviews has been a way that my writing has actually reached people. And so the responses that I do get in the comments are so touching to me because it's really been like the first time where I feel like my writing is impacting people. And so it's difficult to then have this place where your writing is being consumed to then go back to working on something that is probably not many eyes are going to see. So I need to just stop and maybe slow down on how much or maybe work my time a little bit better between working on my second novel to push it through to completion and continue to work on reviews and analyses and work and still contribute to this channel. That's really been the biggest challenge for me. And what I really hope to achieve is to finally push out Molding the Marksman. So question 9 is tag someone whose anniversary is coming up. I don't know if anybody's anniversary is coming up, but if you're watching this and you have a channel and your anniversary is coming up, consider yourself tagged. Thank you again so much for being here and enjoying books and making this place It's Too Late to Apologize, which, I mean, for those who don't know, if you check out my channel, the whole name of this channel is It's Too Late to Apologize for all the fiction that I read. So just shortened it down to It's Too Late to Apologize. But thank you for being here and for being kind and sharing your love of books with me. And hopefully we continue to do that. And I love all the recommendations that people are giving me for books down in the comments. I mean, not that I need a bigger TBR, because mine's huge. It's huge. But thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. And again, if you would like a free copy of my first novel, Across the Wire, please let me know and I will contact you in the comments and I will send you a copy. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.